Welcome to Business Voice, a program of the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. Each month, we'll feature business and community leaders sharing their stories, initiatives, concerns, and passions. Learn practical information regarding community resources and opportunities. Now, the host of Business Voice, Greece Regional Chamber President and CEO, Sarah Lentini.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Business Voice, a program of the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce, sponsored by PetSaver Healthy Pet Superstore right here on WYSL. It is my great pleasure to welcome my guest here on Business Voice and somebody who is taking an important lead in running for a congressional seat for the Regions District, Dr. Jim Maxwell. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I know that you're a newcomer to the political landscape, and you're someone with a long and very accomplished career. My understanding is that you're chief of neurosurgery at Rochester General Hospital. Tell us a little bit about your background. I'm sure people are anxious to know you.
Okay. Well, I'm a native son, born in Monroe County. And I've lived my whole life here, excepting for going away to train college medical school, neurosurgery school, for which I went to Georgetown for college and Columbia in New York for medicine. But as the day I got my certification as being a neurosurgeon, I got in the car and came back to Rochester and have been here ever since.
So there was never any question in your mind where you wanted to live?
Well, truth be told, I became quite infatuated, first with Washington, D.C., when I was at Georgetown, and I said, gee, maybe someday I could somehow work on Capitol Hill.
Huh?
But
so there's a good connection, yeah.
Yeah, and then I fell in love with New York City, Greenwich Village, Manhattan, the whole place, and still love New York City, but like so many Rochesterians, people from Monroe County, I came back home because of family. I make an analogy that Rochester is like the moon. It has this very subtle gravitational pull, and it just, next thing you know, you're back home in Rochester working, and you say, how did I get here?
You know, it's funny that you say that. I've lived in Rochester since 1990. I wasn't born here. I didn't grow up here. But I have now lived in Rochester, in the Rochester region, for the longest period in my, I've never lived anyplace this long. I would never have guessed when I moved here that I would stay, but it does have, this region has a, you're right, it's subtly, you bind to it, it binds to you, and it's a very easy lifestyle, and lots of stuff to do, great cultural sector, et cetera, et cetera. So I think I get what you're saying. So what made you want to go into medicine in the first place? Because that's no small choice.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I just sort of drifted that way. When I was in high school, I was taking all sciences, and when I went to college, I said, let me try my hand at pre-med, and it was just a sequence of one after the other after the other. There was no, eureka moment or St. Paul getting struck by lightning on the horse where within 10 seconds everything changed. I must say my father was a surgeon.
Oh, okay.
And kind of tongue-in-cheek, I would say, despite that, I became a doctor.
Yeah, I also understand that. There are, many of us who are surprised sometimes when we end up doing the things that our parents did because we didn't necessarily seek out to do that. But
Right.
But you had probably a great role model in your dad.
Well, he was. He disagreed with a lot of the things that I chose to do. He said being a neurosurgeon was a glorious waste of time because nobody ever got better. The brain and the spinal cord don't heal. And I said, Dad, just keep it to yourself. But when it came to being there for patients,
yes.
There was nobody better than him. For example, I started my practice in 1981. I hung on a shingle.
Wow.
Nobody does that anymore, but I hung on a shingle, private practice. And my father said to me, great job getting your practice off the ground, but you made a big mistake. I said, Dad, what is that? He said, you didn't put your home address in the phone book.
Oh, gosh. This is going back a ways. Yes.
Well, his point was never hide from your patients.
Wow.
That when all else fails and they didn't pay their phone bill and they don't have a phone and there's no internet or any of that stuff, They have to have the option to be able to get in the car and knock on your door.
Goodness.
And I said, are you kidding me?
That would be unheard of today.
It would be, but I only throw that out to give an example of what a
dedicated
pro patient. You'd say things like, being a doctor is a calling.
Yes,
it's a calling that you earn every day. It's not a privilege, and it's not an earned right, no matter how hard school was for you or how far you're in debt or whatever. Yeah. For educational loans, it's a calling and a privilege.
Yes,
that you earn every day. So, going back to your question, how did I wind up being a doctor? I think he probably had something to do with it.
Oh, I'm thinking he did. Yeah, I'm thinking he did. And it sounds as though, you didn't exactly shy away from what is and must be a very challenging part of the medical field. I mean, you're not just that you're a surgeon, which has, implicit with that, there are a lot of challenges, but a neurosurgeon, I imagine, is a particularly difficult field.
Yeah, not everybody does well. The brain is unforgiving. Mm-hmm. Spinal cord is even more unforgiving in terms of inability to heal and to say you have to be careful and you have to use good judgment is a great understatement.
Oh yeah,
but it's been it's been absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't have changed a day of it. Mm-hmm. I will change the future of it, hopefully, vis-a-vis my life trajectory, but the past has been wonderful. And
I want to hear more about that, but just to say, we have heard from a lot of people who've experienced you as a physician and a surgeon, and we keep hearing really very positive comments. It sounds as though you've had a very positive impact on the lives of many, and that's got to be very satisfying. So tell me what you mean by that. You are looking to make some change. I assume that you're saying that you're looking to make some change that affects health outcomes, health care, all of the above, some of the above?
All of the above, yeah. I mean, I couldn't think of a way to shake it up more than to leave my practice and run for Congress. A lot of people think that's crazy, or they don't connect the dots, or what are you doing? Where did that come from? Type deal. But for me, it's kind of seamless because what I've done for all these past decades here in Rochester is sit and listen to people and then listen to them again and then listen to them a different way and then ask some questions to make sure I listen to them correctly. And I don't mean to be funny to beat that into the ground, but the trick, the key to being a good doctor, any kind of doctor, is to really, truly understand what's wrong, what the patient is trying to convey. What's wrong? What's the problem? What can I do for you? What's your chief complaint? Why are you here? You ask the question 10 ways around until you get it into your craw, right into your being. And then you make a diagnosis, and then you look at your bag of tricks called surgery and see if there's anything in your bag of tricks that you could do to fix the chief complaint. And for me, going to Congress is the same 1, 2, 3 process. Listen to people, all 720,000 in the district.
Wow.
Come to a distillate, a concentrated amalgam of what are they saying? What do they want? What is their problem here? And, of course, it's not going to be one. It's going to be the education system's failing my kids. The economy is not working for me. I'm underemployed. I'm unemployed. I have no savings other than Social Security, and I'm 62, on and on and on and on. But you listen, and then you listen again till you make sure you got it right. Because sometimes people just blurt out something, and it's what's on the top of their mind, and then you ask them again, and you find out, well, that really wasn't quite what the main problem for them was. But anyway, you find out what the problem is. You look in your bag of tricks on Capitol Hill, legislation, taxation, grants, regulations, whatever it is in your bag of tricks, and you try and come up with a solution. So for me, it's not that different. Mm-hmm. And also underpinning the whole thing is the fact that this is a mechanism, at least in my heart, to help as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time, rather than the way I do it now, mm-hmm. one at a time. You can't do 2 operations at the same time, and you can't listen to 2 patients at the same time. But I think I can help a lot of people.
And you touched on sort of with your examples, you're not just about the issues that you're wanting to work on are not just healthcare issues. It sounds as though you're already hearing from people. I'm guessing those examples aren't just pulled out of thin air. They're probably examples of concerns that people have already articulated to you as you're walking around, meeting people, shaking hands, asking them about their lives. But before we embark on sort of the broader discourse, you certainly know healthcare, the healthcare arena, the health industry very well. Are there specific sorts of changes that you would like to see, or at least like to see explored?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I begin by saying I come at this from the standpoint of the patient. Mm-hmm. I'm not an insurance guy. I'm not an actuarial. Mm-hmm. I don't own a business that employs 120 people to date, and this is going to change soon. I'm not a politician. Mm-hmm. I'm a doctor. And I see people hurting, in trouble, suffering, sick, and I want to help them. And as a personal mantra, I say money should never get in the way of medicine.
Right.
And the way I've run my practice is if people have no insurance, my care to them is free.
Wow.
It shouldn't be wow. It shouldn't be wow, because doing medicine is a privilege and a calling. I'll go back to that. But specifically, healthcare is at present unsustainable. The future cannot be more of what we have now. It's unsustainable. The cost is growing so fast that it's 20% of GDP. Why not 30% of GDP? Why not 90% of GDP? You know what I mean? And I think enough is enough. And the main problem with healthcare is cost. Too expensive, and the major discussion has been coverage. It's coverage. Who's covered? Are you covered? They're covered. Let's cover more. That was the main thrust of Obamacare, even though it was called Affordable Care Act. Mm-hmm. The main thrust of it was to get more people to have health insurance.
Without addressing the underlying issue, which is cost?
Well, the words used in that regard will bend the cost curve in the future. That was a sentence that was thrown. We'll bend the cost curve. We'll slow it down from the 11 to 18% increase per year and get it down to 2-3% next year and down the road. I think that's wishful thinking. I think we've got to come up with a plan that somehow drops the cost. I say this as an example, thought-provoking example. There's a surgery called LASIK surgery on the eye. People know about it. They get LASIK surgery. They don't have to wear glasses anymore.
Right.
And when it came out, it was $2,000 an eye. And then people from here started crossing the border to Canada, where the Canadian surgeons offered it at, I think it was first $1,100 and $900 an eye.
Considerably less.
And then it dropped, and now it's in the several hundreds. Now, why is that? It's because LASIK surgery is one of the few things that is not covered by insurance.
At all.
Yeah. And yes, and market forces prevail. Mm-hmm. And the eye doctor down the street opened up a clinic and started $500 an eye. Mm-hmm. Well, the guy next door, $400 an eye. And I only throw that out there as an example that I think there is room for competition in the medical field.
And right now there's not a system that encourages that.
Well, I'll say back to you and your listeners, when's the last time you negotiated with your doctor about price? Can you give me 20% off the top? Or when is the last time you asked your doctor, what's this going to cost me? People do say that a little bit more now because deductibles can be $10,000. Mm-hmm. And so the first $10,000 they have to pay for. And so I, as a neurosurgeon, say, your back hurts? Let's order an MRI scan. And the retort or answer should be, where can I get it done the cheapest, doctor? I never hear that. People don't say that. They say, okay, I'll get an MRI scan. And then they're hit with a $2,100 bill. But I think competition somehow got to enter the healthcare field. I think there are silos and boundaries between insurers and big pharma, between healthcare companies and middlemen, all kinds of fences across the open prairie that do not allow competition. And I think us as consumers sit way in left field, and we are not part of anything. We're just like a bunch of sheep, and at the end of the day, we get a bill and we say, oops, my goodness gracious, but we have no ability to impact that bill.
No,
and somehow that's got to change.
Yeah, and the same is true. It's true of insurance. It's true of the the ultimate bill you pay. It's true of the plans, the various plans that are offered, the way they're structured, and certainly true of pharmaceutical offerings and costs. And I've as long as I've been around, I've seen nothing but increases. Certainly in the costs of something such as health insurance, which impacts individuals. It impacts many of the businesses in the chamber community. And you may or may not know this, but the Greece Regional Chamber offers health insurance, medical, dental, and vision insurance. And so we hear quite often from subscribers their concerns about costs. But you're right, I don't think that they view themselves, and for that matter, I don't think that we view ourselves as being able to do much to impact them. And so something that opens up that conversation, I think, would be welcomed. I was thinking as you were talking that certainly cost is of concern. And I think that if we were able to shop around, we might choose something less expensive if that were given to us as an option, regardless of whether we were picking an MRI or a particular drug. But quality enters into the conversation as well. So, that's the thing about healthcare. All of us are worried about cost, but we're also worried, especially if we're going in for neurosurgery, right? But suddenly cost would be less important to me, and quality much more so. So, do we still have a good? I've often thought of this country as having, either one of, if not the best healthcare system in the world. Would you say that's still basically true?
Or? Oh, I'd say that's absolutely true. I have in my office a cabinet, a wooden cabinet that came from a doctor's office in the Civil War.
Oh, my.
Okay. And I call it the comeuppance cabinet.
Okay.
Because it sits at the end of my office where I greet, meet, talk to patients. And in it, I have some of the bottles that he had or she had in the 18...
I'm guessing it was he. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were being very politically correct.
A whole nother conversation. But, I can just imagine the doctor in 1868 or whatever would say, you need 2 tablespoons of Cudbear and you need to rub mustard liniment. And basically medicine in the 1800s was a joke. It was leeches and bleeding and a joke.
Yeah.
And that's not that way anymore. Medicine has become so good. Medicine has become so good that everybody out there understands it's necessary. At times.
Yeah.
When you're sick.
Yeah.
But when you're sick, it is so good. And that's why there's such a freak out if you don't have it.
Right.
You know,
because people value it because they understand the value of it. Yes.
I give as an example 2 parents with 2 kids. They have a couple of part-time jobs. One has a full-time job. They have very poor insurance with enormously high deductibles. And one of their kids has belly pain. Could it be appendicitis? Could be. It's probably just the flu. Maybe it's something they ate. But the anxiety that those parents feel, are we putting money over the health of our kids? And so there's this factor of anxiety and fear that's built into the system that is really awful. What I, would like to see is the patient back in the driver's seat, because there is no better person to decide what's the right insurance, amount of insurance, than the patient. And I don't think we should consider them dumb enough that they can't make wise choices in healthcare. And so I had a thought of the employers buying health insurance, but instead of sending the check to the health insurance company, writing the check to the employee, mandating that the employee take that, put it in, say, an HSA or a privileged account, and mandating that they use that to buy their own health insurance. And if they are wise, and at the end of the year, there's excess surplus.
It's theirs.
Theirs to keep after they pay an income tax on what it would be to slide over. So who wins in this scenario? The employers. They have a deductible, whether it's written to an insurance company or written to their employee. They don't care. It's still deductible. They get off under having to have these huge HR departments where they're advising and choosing and picking and negotiating the health insurance companies. They can eliminate all of that. The employee is in the driver's seat, and they can pick and choose. And at the end, the government gets sort of a cut on the money that's slid over to the private account is taxable. So the government gets a small slice of it at the end of the day. But I can't imagine aligning the stars in a better way to foster competition than to put the consumer in the driver's seat and have them negotiate the right size insurance. This mandates, however, that there be ample choice.
Yes.
Ample choice. And so, for example, all of the barbers in Greece, single mom and pop barbershops or beauty salons, would be able to coalesce, get together, and across state lines, that's very key, that they can form an association that empowers them to negotiate for the barbers of America, small mom and pops, and they can get good deals. Insurance companies look out the window and say, oh, my God, I've got to appeal to these individuals. They are going to get to keep money at the end. I better be competitive. I better get my price down because these people are going to buy largely based on price and quality, but on price and bingo bango, you got competition.
And the right people being in control of the situation. Yep.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct. You can't assume when it comes to healthcare matters that the patients are dumb. They're not. They're very empowered, more empowered with the, Health Watch and some of these online things where you grade your doctor. More of that. Bring it on. Make the consumer more educated.
And I think consumers are anxious to have better control over the healthcare options in their lives. I think they would welcome it. So, having talked a little bit about healthcare, what other priorities are there in your agenda as you think about, let's say you get elected in November? What are some of the first things that you want to tackle?
Well, healthcare would be one where I would bring a lot to the table, too. The other thing is the economy. Mm-hmm. We've got to get more jobs in Monroe County and better jobs in Monroe County. And anything that can be done to accomplish that, I'll be all over. Mm-hmm. You know, trying to marry my skills as a doctor and knowing that the biggest employer in Monroe County are the hospitals and the healthcare systems, I will fight very hard for funding grants, research funding, medical schools, mm-hmm. Hospital construction from D.C. to bring back what I think is a fair share for Monroe County. In a generic way, I will also fight in a pro-business way for anything that would allow a business person that, say, employs 70 people to add 15 more mm-hmm. because their taxes went down or because they didn't have to hire 2 people to handle the regulatory burdens or because they don't have to have such a robust HR department so as to manage all the health care insurance troubles or dealings with their employees. They can just focus on doing what they do, making a bigger profit, and hiring more people. Mm-hmm. We need better jobs. Look, I grew up here, and people say, oh, well, you're going to bring your skills as a doctor here. I'm also bringing the skills of all my decades in Monroe County. I remember growing up in Rochester when it was referred to as the Athens of the North.
I think I missed that.
You got here in 1990?
90, yeah.
You missed it.
It was 1989 that you stopped calling it that? No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm wild about Athens in the old days. Mm-hmm. It's the birthplace of democracy.
Yes.
Everybody considered themselves a citizen. Being a citizen and working for the good of the community in Athens was the highest mm-hmm. honor you could have. And so I'm all in on Athens, Greece, 44 BC. But to have Rochester called the Athens of the North, there was a civic pride. Yep. There was a civic pride to being a Rochesterian. I don't hear that anymore. And I'm aware that times were a bit fat. Kodak was booming, mm-hmm. film. Xerox had just been discovered. As a matter of fact, one summer I worked for Xerox out at the research plant in Webster, and the cars never left the parking lot. It was 24 hours a day, double shift. Wow. Making those 914 copiers mm-hmm, mm-hmm. because the only copier in the world was a Xerox copier. Yeah. So times were different. I get that, and you can't go back. But I see what a lot of good jobs does to a community. Sure. We got to get back there.
Yeah, we sure do. I agree with you. Back there. We do. So I know that you've got a strong interest in the economy, a strong interest in the healthcare system. Of course, they're intricately interwoven, especially in this community. But you started to touch on what might be the needs and the interests of, small and mid-sized businesses, and we certainly have plenty of those in the community as well. Have you been out there talking to small business owners? Do you have, are you hearing something different from them than you might from some of the larger businesses, and what are your thoughts there?
I have a number of friends over 20, 30 years who own small businesses, mm-hmm. and my question to them has always been, what would it take for you to hire 10 more people? Mm-hmm. Because I come at it from a citizen's point of view, a people point of view, and what is most important to my heart is that people have A, jobs, and B, good jobs. Mm-hmm. That's what I think about when you say the economy. And corporate profits and so on and so forth are important, but only to me insofar as they allow more hiring and higher wages and more benefits.
WYSL Avon Rochester.
I've gotten an earful as time has gone by. Healthcare was really one of the top ones. I would love to hire more people, but I can't afford it because of the healthcare costs. And so I'll marry the one with the other, fixing healthcare and driving down the costs and getting some of the healthcare burden off the back of the employers. I think it'll do a huge job for small businesses. You know, if you got 20,000 employees, it's a relatively smaller hit to hire 10 people in an HR department. Mm-hmm. If you got 70 employees and you're going to have to hire 3 or 4 people to run the HR side of things, you can't do that. So that's a difference between big business and small business. I'm very aware that small businesses are the engine. Small and medium-sized businesses are the engine of growth, largely in this area and in this economy. And as I've gone out as a candidate, I've met a lot of small businesses who tell me the frustrations of government getting in their way. They also they complain about government largesse or dumping all this money into projects that are kind of ill thought out. May I mention the fast ferry? Or some would say photonics. People ask me, what's your opinion on photonics? And I have one sentence. Show me the jobs. Just show me the jobs. That's what it's all about.
It's the critical piece. Yeah,
it's the critical piece, and so much government money is sprayed and dumped on projects that don't seem to reap the benefits that they say they're going to. And yet these guys and gals go out and found these small businesses, and they're profitable, and they're adding 2-3 employees per year. That's where we should be paying our attention.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in the community that are putting, everything they have, both in terms of resources and money, but also in terms of time and talent, and working very long, hard hours. And it would be nice to be, giving them an assist. And we hear, certainly at the Chamber, we hear all the time that they're feeling as though, in the main, I would say that the majority of small business owners are feeling as though they have more and more mandates that are coming down from a variety of government sources that are costing them more and more money, and making it tougher for them to make a go of their businesses. So, I think they're anxious to have someone who listens to them and also to have a voice. And, when you were talking earlier about listening as a physician, as a surgeon, and then, listening in the new role that you're seeking to take on, it struck me that, the other part of that is communication. And ultimately, therefore, a dialogue. And, of course, that also kind of harkens back to what you were describing when you were talking about Rochester having been originally called the Athens of the North. Is that what you said?
Athens of the North.
Athens of the North. So I wondered if you had some thoughts, and maybe you even put some structures in place, some thoughts about how to have a civil discourse with the people that you want to help. Yeah.
Well, it's listening, and I'm in front of people a whole lot lately.
I bet.
And I listen to them. You see, again, back to medicine, what I see happen, what I think happens, because I don't sit in other doctors' offices, I think people impose what they think they hear on what they hear, and they bring their own prejudices and this is what they ought to be saying, and they're off base. And I teach residents in neurosurgery. They send them over from the University of Rochester, and I'm supposed to teach them how to be a neurosurgeon, which is interesting to say the least.
Because there's so much to it.
Well, there's so much to it, and the consequence of getting it wrong is so awful.
Oh, yes.
It's so awful. You know, if you make a wrong diagnosis, you're in left field before you know it.
Right.
And getting back out of left field is sometimes not possible, or sometimes you get out of left field with the wrong diagnosis, and the patient gets whacked.
Yeah.
So I tell them the yardstick against which you measure everything you do with a patient is a single sentence. And in that sentence, you put accurately what the patient is truly complaining of. And it takes a lot of work to get there. And I think the same is true of going out as a candidate and listening to people. You know, what do you want me to do? That's one of the things I say. When I get in Congress, what's the first thing you want me to do there? The problem is I don't always have a lot of time. You know, you're in a parade route and going down a thing, and you're at a dinner, and there's 10 people lined up wanting to talk to you. So it's different. But I think listening and accurately finding out what the problem is before you shoot your mouth off is the way to go.
But going back to your one sentence, because I want to make sure I understand this, because it's no small point you're making here.
Correct.
So you listen, and then you're saying that the job of the listener, regardless of whether that listener is a physician or an elected official or a teacher, that the job is then to condense, synthesize, and then express what you've understood, what I used to know as mirroring. You express it back to in this instance, to the patient, to see whether there's resonance.
Correct. See whether you got it right.
Yeah.
Excuse me,
I'm
ma'am.
saying it.
You're saying it perfectly.
In a funky way, but yes.
And I don't mean to be weird to keep hounding on this
it's
listening
important.
point. But
it's kind of what I'm doing with you, actually, by the way.
There you go.
Because I'm trying to make sure I've understood what you're saying, and I'm trying to make sure that our listeners are hearing what you're saying, because I do actually think it's a critical point. And it's a critical point, and I think not just in any one field. And it's a critical point if you want to make progress with other people when you're working on something, right?
Absolutely. I think that's the if I ran for dictator of Monroe County, I'd skip the listening part.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Very good point. You know? Yes.
But I'm running for Congress, which is right up there with Athens, BC, 44 BC, as being one of the best forms of government that the world has ever known.
Yes.
It's based on the representatives doing the will of the people. And how are you going to find out what the will is? You listen.
You have
carefully.
Very carefully.
And then you execute what they want, not what you want.
Right. In case you're just joining us, I'm Sarah Lentini, and you're listening to Business Voice right here on WYSL, a program of the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce, sponsored by PetSaver, Healthy Pet Superstore. And we are having an in-depth conversation today with Dr. Dr. James Maxwell, who is, among other things, Chief of Neurosurgery at Rochester General Hospital, but has also put his hat in the ring for a congressional seat, specifically the one that was held by the late Louis Slaughter. So as we look over the next couple of months, right? You've got an intense schedule, I'm sure. How do you even? This is sort of a kind of an operations question. You've got a lot of experience. What seems like a passion to make an impact, as you said, on a great number of people. But for all that, you're running a you're running a campaign, ably assisted by a team of people. And so what happens between now and the election? Can you tell us a little? I know nothing about running a campaign. What sorts of, and how do you make those decisions about where you're going to put your energies, or is that a state secret? I don't know.
No, it's not a state secret. I have no yardstick to measure this against. Mm-hmm. The last time I ran, I did it this way. This time I'm doing it that way. There is no prior. I have been blessed with the people I've associated with. One might say the only problem my campaign committee is that they're all under 30 and they're all from Greece.
Speaking of Athens, right?
I didn't.
And of course, I don't mind one bit. We are given that we're, I'm from the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm quite happy with that, and they're all under 30, right?
What a good segue, huh?
What a great segue.
Yeah,
yes.
And but I'm blessed, and they're just doing a great job. On social media, I can't believe how many people are following me.
Wow.
I made a big mistake the other day. I put my picture out. They put my picture out, and they said, if you see Dr. Maxwell, wish him happy birthday today.
Aww.
So I went in the parking lot, and I went in Wegmans, and all of these people are coming up to me, wishing me happy birthday. And
That's great.
I did not make the connection to the social media.
Oh, you didn't know why? How
I had
did
no
they
idea.
find out? Oh, how funny.
Who are these people?
Yeah.
Why is everybody in the world
goodness.
wishing me happy birthday? But anyway.
But that's a testament to their effectiveness on social media and the power of social media, which is unbelievable as well, right? Yeah.
It is. The numbers are, I'm not exactly sure what they all mean, but our media group said your opening video, when I announced in January, was seen by 250,000 people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, who are they all? That just blows my mind because there can't be that many people that stumbled onto it. But anyway,
No.
And so the next couple of months will be very, very, very busy.
Yep.
Meeting, greeting people, trying to get my message out there, and then we'll see what happens in November. Mm-hmm. I threw my hat in the ring against Louise Slaughter. I have great respect for her, and I was truly upset when she passed away because I wanted to run against a rock star, and she was a rock star.
Yeah, yeah.
And I disagreed with her certain parts of her liberalism, and I think that if you stay in an office a certain number of years, you pick up barnacles like a ship in the harbor, and you become less and less effective because you pick up more and more enemies, and you're less and less able to work with the whole system. And I thought fresh and new is what we need, and relying on people who goofed up Congress to begin with and relying on them to fix it probably is not the best way to do it. So I threw my hat in the ring against Louise Slaughter, and people said, "Are you crazy? You're running against an icon." I said, "I know that, but I think I can do it." And then it changed. Now I'm against Joe Morelli, and there are a lot of problems in Albany. We all know it's full of corruption and people going to jail, and I'll say again, like I said when I threw in against Louise, I'm fresh, I'm new, I'm unencumbered. I don't toe the line to anybody. I don't think I have baggage in the closet, maybe a speeding ticket 20 years ago, but I'm unencumbered, and I think I can be very effective trying to get the people's work done in Washington.
That's great. In case you just tuned in, I'm Sarah Lentini, and you're listening to Business Voice on WYSL, a program of the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce, sponsored by PetSaver Healthy Pets Superstore. And I'm sitting here talking with Dr. Jim Maxwell, who is running for Congress and running to fill the seat that the late Louise Slaughter was in. And I am wanting just to ask you a couple of last questions. I'm so delighted that you were able to be here with us today. One is if people want to connect with you or your campaign, is there a way for them to plug in or even just to stay up to date, and how might they do that?
I have a website, Dr. Jim Maxwell for Congress, and or just put in Dr. Jim Maxwell, and the whole thing will lead you to my website. And when you get to the website, feel free to leave your name and your email address. And when you do that, you become part of our message and part of our team. And if you want to sign up for specific tasks, lawn signs in the fall or volunteering in phone banks, and guess what? We even have a donate button.
Nice.
Yeah. So feel free to donate. But that's the easiest way to get a hold of us. We have an office, but it's pretty cramped, and I think coming over to the office probably is not the best way to sign up to. But go to the website, put your name and put your email, and you're part of the team.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
And before we let you go, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners? I know we've touched on a lot of topics here today, and I can see also that they're very interwoven. But as you think about the Rochester-Monroe County region, the place that you grew up and the place that you've given your life's energy to, and that you want to continue to serve. Is there anything else that you would wish for the region? Is there any other way in which you would like to, any other way in which you'd like to help craft a vision? Because I see you crafting a vision for the region.
I would like to say to my fellow Monroe County citizens, let's get back to Athens of the North concept. Let's fall in love with our region again. Mm-hmm. Let's work as citizens to make this a better place. Let's support one another. And I would even say something a bit strange. Always believe that you can run for Congress. That everybody who listens to this should consider themselves a contender for Congress. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a career politician. Step up to the plate, make your voice heard, and believe that your life experiences, whatever they are sufficient to run for Congress as a way of getting involved and as a way of falling back in love with this wonderful place we call home.
Wonderful place. Dr. Jim Maxwell, running for Congress, thank you so much for joining us here today on Business Voice.
Sarah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Stick around. We'll be right back.
More than 20,000 watts of truth every day. WYSL 92.1 FM and 1040 AM.
Of course you love your pet. That's why it's hard to believe that you're feeding them the wrong food. Yeah, 70% of dogs and cats are eating the wrong pet food. It could be because they're getting older, a little overweight, or have allergies. PetSaver Healthy Pet Superstore can help. Bring in your food or take a picture of the label, and a trained staff member will let you know what is really in the food. They know how to accurately read the labels and give you the truth about what you're feeding or not feeding your pet. If you need a change, they can recommend a food that really is healthier for your pet. And because PetSaver carries more premium food than any other store in town, including the national chains, you might even be able to pay less for a food that is better for your pet. Are you one of the 70% of pet owners that are feeding your dog or cat the wrong food? Find out for free at the PetSaver nearest you.
In Greece, Monroe Ave in Brighton, Webster, and in Victor next to Party City across from Eastview Mall.
Need help with health insurance? The Greece Regional Chamber provides assistance with health insurance for businesses, nonprofits, families, and individuals throughout our region. We pride ourselves on the personalized service that we provide for our clients. Let us help you find health insurance plans that fit your needs and navigate the paperwork. Greece Chamber Benefit Partners, located at 2402 Westridge Road in Rochester, New York, offers a broad range of medical insurance plans for businesses, nonprofits, individuals, and families throughout the greater Rochester Finger Lakes region, working with insurance companies including Excelis Blue Cross Blue Shield, Univera, and MVP Healthcare. We can also help you access insurance plans through the New York State of Health, the official health plan marketplace. Again, you do not need to live or work in Greece to utilize our brokerage services. We serve the greater Rochester Finger Lakes region of New York State. Visit greecechamber.org to sign up for one of our free health insurance information sessions or schedule an appointment with one of our licensed brokers. Call 585-227-7272. 585-227-7272.
Lattimore Physical Therapy of North Greece and Greg Shaler and the SMS Group at Merrill Lynch present the Greece Regional Chamber's Bluegrass at the Blue Barn Cidery on Manitou Road, Sunday, August 26th, 4 till 8 p.m. Enjoy a summer barbecue buffet, cash bar, and dessert tastings from area restaurants and caterers. Plus live performances including Linabelle Bluegrass Band, A Girl Named Jenny, and Greece Performing Arts Society. Visit greecechamber.org or call 227-7272 for tickets.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
PetSaver Healthy Pet Superstore.
Get all the advantages when you shop at PetSaver.
Like our do-it-yourself pet wash for just $9.99 every day. We supply all the shampoo, towels, tubs, and water, and we clean up after you, too.
The PetSaver-friendly staff helps you protect your pet from fleas and ticks with simple, safe, economical, and vet-recommended protection.
We are here 7 days a week in person to help you find only the best pet food, treats, toys, and more.
Can't get that online.
Remember, every time you shop at PetSaver, you are helping to feed our local shelter pets.
Do your community and your pet a big favor.
Shop at PetSaver!
The Love Your Pet More store.
PetSaver Healthy Pet Superstore.
In Greece, Monroe Ave, Brighton, Webster, and in Victor next to Party City across from Eastview Mall.
Hi, Bob Savage here with exciting news. Currently under construction, a brand new FM outlet for WYSL on the west side of Rochester. That's right, coming soon, WYSL 95.5 Spencerport. A powerful new radio voice serving Brockport, Chili, North Greece, Hilton, Hamlin, Gates, and more. A new way for listeners on the west side to enjoy Jim Quinn, Glenn Beck, Dana Lash, News 10 NBC on the radio, live U of R and Roberts Wesleyan sports coverage, weather, local news, and so much more. For our existing and new advertisers, the new WYSL FM 95.5 West means we reach more new listeners and customers for your business. Call 346-3000 today about introductory new advertiser packages designed for value, effectiveness, and savings. Coming soon to your radio dial, the family of WYSL stations grows again with the addition of WYSL FM 95.5, our new Spencerport transmitter. Be sure to listen for it. The new Voice of Liberty, 20,000 watt, 1040 AM, FM 92.1, and soon FM 95.5.
Register and vote. Get a friend or neighbor to do the same. WYSL 92.1 FM and 1040 AM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Business Voice on WYSL, a program of the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce, sponsored by PetSaver Healthy Pet Superstore. I'm Sarah Lentini, and you've been listening to an interview that we just had with Dr. Jim Maxwell, who is, of course, running for Congress, and the election is this November. So before we leave you, I wanted to let you know that we have also reached out to New York State Assemblyman Joe Morelli and have invited him to come on the show. He wasn't able to come on this particular program, but we're hoping to bring him in for a future show so that you can hear a little bit from him as well. And I want to make you aware of what's going on at the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We have not been vacationing, and we have plenty of exciting things coming up. Both at the end of the summer and also into the fall and beyond. And probably the big thing that is coming up that's most exciting is we've got here for the second year a great event called Bluegrass at the Blue Barn, which is a celebration of food, music, and summer. We had it for the first time last year at the Blue Barn Cidery, 928 Manitou Road in Greece. It's got a Hilton address, but it's technically in the town of Greece. The event is Sunday, August 26th. It's from 4 to 8 p.m. It is a great. It's going to be a great Sunday afternoon with musical performances, of all sorts, and wonderful food, a dinner buffet that's being prepared by Forest Hill Catering, and dessert tastings that are coming your way from area restaurants and caterers. And the musical performances are by Linabelle Bluegrass Band, great band that performed for us last year. A girl named Jenny, which is more of a newcomer to the musical scene, and a very exciting young group. Greece Performing Arts Society is also performing once again this year. This year they're performing sneak preview musical selections from the upcoming production The Addams Family, the musical, which is going to be premiered in the fall at Lyric Theater in downtown Rochester on East Avenue. So it is an exciting and an afternoon, a wonderful series of events, lots of food, of course, fantastic beverages at the Blue Barn Cidery, cash credit bar for that, and we've got a buffet menu that's chock full of great food by Forest Hill Catering, and the venue is very, very lovely. So if people are interested, it is a ticketed event. $39 for a single ticket, couple for $75, and you can visit greasechamber.org. That's greasechamber.org to purchase tickets, or you can always call us during work hours at 585-227-7272. The other things that we have going on, just to give you a little bit of a taste, include a wonderful after-hours business networking event at Bernard's Grove, 187 Long Pond Road. That's a wonderful restaurant in the town of Greece that will be known to many of you in the listening audience. And then we have lots of networking events, including one coming up at Morabito Hearing Aid Center on Friday, the 7th of September, 7:30 a.m., and then some great workshops, including one on redesigning for an engaged and productive workforce, which is being presented by Bob Lewis of Enterprise Performance Matters. That's on September 12th. And then we have Lightspeed Computers presenting Customer Relationship Management, CRM, and how to make it pay for itself. And that's Thursday on the 20th of September. All the information's on our website, greasechamber.org, greasechamber.org. We hope you check out what we've got going on. Just a reminder that you do not need to live or work in Greece in order to be a member of the Greece Regional Chamber. Also, a reminder that you don't need to be a member, actually, to attend many of these events. And Bluegrass at the Blue Barn is a great example. That's a community event. It's not a member event. We hope that lots of people come out and enjoy that. And also a reminder that we offer medical, dental, and vision insurance, and open enrollment for most of the community is coming up beginning October 1st. So please do check out the website, greasechamber.org, and also feel free to give a call at 227-7272 if you have interest or need information on any of the above. And we hope that you tune in again for the next edition of Business Voice.
You've been listening to Business Voice. The Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce serves businesses, nonprofits, and individuals throughout the region, focusing on promoting economic and community development and serving as the voice for business. The Chamber offers networking, education, advocacy, community events, and business services. It serves as an important platform for business leaders and citizens to come together in support of common goals.